Do you feel it? Do you smell it? All the questions are about to be answered. All of the issues are about to be resolved. And after the dust settles and all the smoke is cleared, there will be one team from the Central Division headed to the National League Championship Series to face the Dodgers. Who will it be? It's winner take all. We got to talk about it right after this. Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of Chicago Cubs Central, your number one spot for all things Chicago Cubs. I am your host, Mike Jones. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this episode. Listen, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe to the podcast, to the channel. Make sure that you guys also, if you're watching on X, please make sure that you guys hit that follow button on X as well. And make sure that if you're watching on Spotify or on Apple, that you guys leave a 5-star review. Listen, the Chicago Cubs are going up against the Milwaukee Brewers, and it's for all the marbles, baby. That's right. The winner will go advance to the National League Championship Series. The loser will have to endure getting ragged on by the other team, and the other team's fan base for the next year until baseball starts again. Listen, this is a battle for not only the Central Division, but also for an opportunity and a shot at the National League Championship Series. As I chronicled after the Chicago Cubs Game 4 victory, smashing victory, the pressure is back on the Brewers. The Brewers have to make a decision here, and they have to do something in this series. This is it. Now, obviously, like I said, the momentum has shifted. The Chicago Cubs have the momentum heading back to Milwaukee. They've won the last 2 games. They evened up this series. They refuse to die. Now it's all up to see who is going to be the last man standing. The Chicago Cubs, Craig Counsell, this episode really is a lot about Craig, honestly, just because he's been in the media, said a lot of things, and we'll get to what he said. But and we'll also get to who should pitch. But I just want to spotlight and just tell you guys real quick, I'm very proud of the Chicago Cubs team. And win, lose, or draw, I'm going to say I'm proud of this team because they fought back from a lot of different adversity, and they've answered the call at a lot of different adversity. You know, when the Brewers went on their win streaks and the Chicago Cubs were playing basically 500 ball, Chicago was still able to weather the storm and stay in there and stay in the fight. They were in it all the way up until the very end as far as winning the Central Division. But they kept in a level head no matter who went down with injury, no matter how many games they lost in a row, no matter what series they dropped. The Chicago Cubs kept a level head and lifted each other up. For what it's worth, they have a really good baseball team. Really good baseball team. I mean, that you don't get this far without being a really good baseball team. You know, you can say that the wild card thing was a fluke because you were playing in Chicago instead of San Diego. But, you know, then you go to, Milwaukee, and like I said, you don't necessarily perform the best in Milwaukee. You end up losing those games due to pitching, but then you're able to get back to Chicago and tie this series up. And like I said, the Chicago Cubs have done what they needed to do so far. They need to win a road game, though, and that's going to be tough. I'm not going to lie to you. That is going to be tough. But win, lose, or draw, whatever happens with Game 5, I am proud of the Chicago Cubs team and the way they fought back. I did not think they had this fight in them, to be quite honest with you. I really thought the Chicago Cubs, after dropping both games in Milwaukee, were probably going to be swept, if I'm being completely honest with you. But they have shown a resolve that, and a clutchness, a resolve and a clutchness that I didn't think this club had. I'm just being completely transparent with you guys. You know how I am. I was optimistic early on in the season, but then the second half of the season happened, and I'm just like, yo, we are treading water playing 500 ball, which I mean was still good enough to get the top spot as a wild card team, but still, you had higher expectations for the Cubs, and slowly but surely, after beating the Padres, after evening up this series with the Brewers, those expectations began to rise again. And you begin to see and realize that, yo, this team might actually have what it takes to maybe even take on the Dodgers. Maybe Craig and maybe Jed knows something that we don't know. We talked about how the offense is exploding back again and coming back again. PCA with a nice couple RBIs. Kyle Tucker finally hits a home run. That first PCA postseason home run is going to be crazy. Michael Busch has been damn near the best hitter in the postseason. He leads the postseason play in both leagues in home runs at 4. I mean, like I said, you look at this Chicago Cubs team and you look at what they've been able to do, and you say to yourself, you just took out the Brewers' best pitcher. Now they have to look and turn to a Mizorowski. They got to look and turn to a Jose Quintana. They got to look and turn to that bullpen to start the game potentially, just because you literally they threw their best at you and you took it and you turned it around and won and shut them out on your end. So when you look at that and you look at this series and you look at what's happening, you say to yourself, man, the Chicago Cubs have an opportunity to beat this Brewers team, and that's all you can ask for is an opportunity to win. Will they fulfill that opportunity? We have to watch the game to find out. But I did just want to say that because I'm very proud of this team. With that being said, the Chicago Cubs manager, Craig Counsell, gave what was, I think, more of a really, really telling interview on Friday. He did not, and it was telling in some parts, and some parts it wasn't. One of the parts it wasn't telling, he did not, refused actually to name the starter for Game 5. Craig Counsell's quote goes as this: "Well, we actually have a lot going into Game 5. I'm not going to name a starter because we're going to treat Game 5 as we have 27 outs that we have to get, and we're going to do it by any means necessary." Craig Counsell, like I said, is usually been willing to name a starter, been normally willing to name someone that that will go for the Cubs. I have adamantly, and I will continue to say, do not let that person be Shota Imanaga. Do not do that to him. His confidence has already been rocked, and you win this game, he has to go pitch against the Dodgers, which, if Shota pitches against the Dodgers, re-rack your lineup. You need to do Matthew Boyd, then you need to do Cade Horton if he's off the list. Then you need to do, or you do Cade, then Matthew Boyd, then Jameson Taillon. Game 4 in Chicago should be Shota Imanaga. That's the way that I would set that lineup for the Cubs. You need to push Shota back and take some of the pressure off of him. And I spoke about this actually in the offseason. I told everybody on the other channel before we lost that channel, when we were doing our in-season predictions, I kind of predicted that Shota was going to struggle a little bit, that he was going to because he overperformed in 2024. So what you saw from him in 2024 wasn't necessarily, the middle. That was Shota overperforming. When he was pitching overseas in Japan, he was, a fly ball pitcher. Like I said, he got a lot of fly balls outs and stuff like that. The strikeouts came because they couldn't figure out and didn't really have any tape, or couldn't figure out his splitter pitch. But now but now teams have tape on Shota, and I honestly feel like he has to do a better job of hiding his pitches when he's forming it in his hand, because teams are looking into his glove and seeing his pitches and seeing what's coming off, and they have signs and signals to let you know, swing at this or don't swing at this. Shota has tails. He's gonna really have to go to the drawing board and remake up his lineup, his figure, his wind up, everything like that. And how he forms his pitches in his hands and how he holds his glove. He's going to really have to go back to the drawing board in the offseason and figure some things out with that. But Shota Imanaga should absolutely be a 4th or 5th starter next year for the Chicago Cubs, not a 2nd or 3rd. I just think that, like I said, the Chicago Cubs have other guys that have shown and are worthy of pitching before him, due to what he did this season, and also to the post and how he's pitching the postseason. So I mean, that just is what it is. But the Chicago Cubs have not named a Game 5 starter. So my question of the day to you guys is, who should start Game 5? Who do you guys think should start Game 5? If I'm going to say, I'm guessing we're going to do this by committee. And I'm thinking that you have either Ben Brown or Colin Ray start Game 5. And I know that sounds crazy. Ben Brown's numbers against Milwaukee, he's very good. He has very good numbers against Milwaukee. Colin Ray was pitching lights out at the end of the regular season, and hopefully, like I said, he's able to continue to pitch lights out. And like I said, I do suspect we'll see both those guys in Game 5, unless one of them's dealing and like Craig just leaves them in. But I do suspect we'll see both those guys in Game 5. Who else do you think we would see? I mean, like I said, I think the usual suspects. One person that you might want to stay away from is Brad Keller. Brad Keller's velocity is down. I know you guys have seen it and everybody's talking about it. His velocity is down. I think he's starting to get tired. You don't want to ruin him throughout the postseason. And then, like I said, have him start giving up meatballs. So, like I said, I think Chicago Cubs should actually rest Brad Keller in this game. Again, nobody's off the table. You can use whoever you want to use in order to get outs in this game. Like I said, this is for all the marbles. And the Brewers have ran through their bullpen and ran through their lineups. I'm sorry, their starting pitcher rotation too. So I'm very eager to see. But I know we'll see Mizorowski. I don't know if he'll be a starter in tomorrow's game, or if he's going to be the guy, like I said, that he has a starter start for him and then he comes in. Very curious to see what they do with the kid, but yeah, we'll see about that. But Craig Counsell had some more striking things that he said. One more striking thing that's got a lot of Cubs fans fired up, actually, more than anything. The most fired up I think Cubs fans have been around Craig Counsell since his arrival here in Chicago. But we'll talk about that right after this. I have been talking ad nauseum, and I still will continue to talk about the product, the brand that has changed my life and can change yours too. What's that product? It's Dubby. It's an all-natural energy supplement that you can take on the daily to help you get through those urges, those moments when you want to nap, then when you hit the cliff, or if you had a long night the night before and need to get through another crazy day of the hustle and bustle, the 9 to 5, whatever you got going on. Dubby is your energy drink. That's right. Not to mention, when you buy a container of Dubby, it actually equals out to almost $1 per drink. You can mix it in with whatever you want, whether that be a juice, whether that be a water, whether that be some type of other energy flavored drink, whatever you want, you can mix Dubby with it and it will do the trick for you. Guys, I don't understand what you're waiting on. Dubby takes care of everything for you. All you have to do is go on to the Dubby website and place your order. And at this time, when you do that, all you have to do is put in Cubs Central Pod 2024. That's right, Cubs Central Pod 2024. And you get 10% off on your Dubby order. That's right. Hey, listen, guys, I'm telling you right now, Jitterless Energy. It's they have all different types of different flavors for you. Dubby has what you need. Be better with Dubby. Craig Counsell made a bold statement ending his interview on Friday with the media, where he did not name a starter, but one thing he did say was the plan after Milwaukee is to go to Los Angeles and play in Los Angeles. So literally, listen, Craig Counsell is pulling a Babe Ruth and calling his shot right here. He is confident in his squad, as he should be, and he believes that this isn't the end for the Chicago Cubs, that there is more baseball to be played for the Chicago Cubs. I have not heard a confident statement like that from Craig Counsell in a very, very long time. So, like I said, he believes in this squad. He believes in what they can do. They've shown what they can do. Now it's up to them to prove it. Like I said, one more time and take Game 5 in Milwaukee. It is going to be easier said than done. The Brewers community is trying to ice out the Chicago Cubs fan base. The fan base has literally been the biggest part of this postseason run for the Chicago Cubs. Nobody wants to go pitch at Wrigley. I can tell you that. Nobody wants to go play at Wrigley. It's cold. Like I said, the wind blows in. You got to hit the ball super hard to get a home run. There's no easy home runs there, and the fan base in themselves just make it a hectic place to play. You can't focus, So like I said, I don't think anybody wants to go play at Wrigley if you're not wearing a Chicago Cubs jersey. But I do believe that Craig Counsell believes in his team. And he believes that it's their time and that they're going to go all the way. So the magic carpet ride continues, according to Craig Counsell. The Chicago Cubs will win Game 5 and will be playing in Los Angeles next week. So listen, from his lips to God's ears, I hope he's right. This has been such a fun postseason. It's been such a great season. My first season on Chicago Cubs Central, and to be covering this team while they're winning, I think is so fun and such a blessing. It's not something that I take for granted. I look over at my comrade Kev, and he has to cover the White Sox. And like I said, I mean, it's just, you see a lot of his content, and it's White Sox mess up this, the White Sox can't get this figured out, or can't get enough runs, or why do the White Sox keep making the same mistake and stuff like that. And sure, we've had our fair share of episodes where we've ragged on the Chicago Cubs management and ragged on the ownership group and everything like that. But 92 wins, a wild card victory, and now on the brink of a National League Division Series victory also. I mean, you can't ask for more. You can't ask for more from a team. So literally, I'm so excited for this game. Hopefully the Chicago Cubs can pull it out and head to the National League Championship Series to play the Dodgers. My last topic of the day: how do the Chicago Cubs beat the Milwaukee Brewers? Well, of course, we know it's going to take some defense, but you also are going to need some and you're going to need to score a little bit too. So the question is, can the Chicago Cubs offense that put up 6 runs and shut out the Brewers in Chicago on Wednesday, can they turn around? And on Thursday, can they turn around and on Saturday shut them down again, but also put up runs too? Is PCA going to have another good game where he sees the ball good and gets some hits? Kyle Tucker, is the home run showing you he's kind of back? Nico Horner, is he going to be able to take his walks? Ian Happ, can he be clutch? Like I said, Matt Shaw had a really, really good outing Thursday. So again, it's all of these factors. This is a team sport, team game, and we got to get runs in order to win. So listen, it's going to take a team effort to get Game 5 to keep on and head to the National League Championship Series. But the Chicago Cubs are more than capable of doing it. And then we'll see what goes from there, man. We'll see what goes from there. But listen, win, lose, draw, I'm here with you guys all throughout it all, man. We riding this wonderful roller coaster together. And I appreciate you guys for riding it with me. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode. Make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, go Cubs, go.
Thank you for watching another episode of Chicago Cubs Central, the #1 spot for all Chicago Cubs content. Remember to like, share, subscribe for more Cubs content.